we want another 10 count or something shorter? Okay. Good.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Good.
Are we all good? Yep, we're good. We can reconvene our meeting to open session. The board was in executive session from 6 to 6:30 to discuss some confidential employee matters. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You could have introductions. Introductions.
Dave Hurst. Chris Meyer.
Willow Bear.
Christine Beck.
Jody Monroe. Holly Dellenbaugh.
Meredith Moriarty.
Jonathan Fishbein.
Wendy Sampson.
And Judy Kehoe.
First is the approval of minutes. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the minutes from the May 19th, 2021 regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That carries. Next is our superintendent's report.
Thank you. A couple announcements before we recognize our tenure recipients this evening. So during the budget process, if you recall, we received additional federal funding that we were not anticipating. And we also received preschool funding, which we never received before as well. So we are looking at preschool RFPs and what's involved in that. I wanted to clarify that we do not have space in our buildings to host preschool, nor do we have time to plan for a program that significant for September. I know a few people have asked about it. We are looking at what's involved in partnering with community agencies and looking at an RFP that BOCES provided to districts who have not had preschool in the past to see if there's any interest. So once we have a little more information about that, we'll provide an update. So I just wanted to clarify. A few people, I think, have, because it's been in the media, talked about, are we having preschool? And I understand the district's offering free daycare. That's not the case. That there is a process. There's a lot of criteria involved in partnering with community agencies. So we'll just keep the board apprised of that process. But we are looking into it. And next meeting, we will have an update on the federal funding. Some of that is over a 3-year period that we have to plan on where those funds will be allocated. It's similar to our grant process that we've used in the past. We're still waiting for some guidance, but we'll provide an update at the June 16th meeting and share information out with the public on the plans for that funding as well.
Can I ask a quick question on
Sure.
that? So if we could find providers with an RFP to provide some preschool services, is income one of the criteria?
It has to be open to as a lottery to anybody.
Anybody, okay.
Yep.
Are we looking to use an RFP for the 1-year funding or for going forward, or we don't know yet?
That's the question on will the funding continue to be there? There's a lot of districts who've had preschool for a number of years, and one of the issues they've had is that funding has not increased in over a decade. So community providers who are involved in that have not seen any increases in that amount of time because they only get what they're allocated per student. So that, I would believe, is probably a deterrent for community groups to have an interest in. But we'll see.
Thank you.
And next, I wanted to just announce that we are planning to host 2 parent meetings next week. The first one will be held September, wow, June, way ahead, June 8th at 10:30 in the morning, and then there will be one June 9th at 6:30 in the evening. We did send a communication out for people to submit their questions in advance, so we had some responses. We'll send out a reminder. We'll be able to answer, we'll try and answer as many questions we can about end of the year and reopening in the fall, but we're still waiting guidance, so some of this we're not quite sure. So, and now, without further ado, we want to recognize our tenure recipients. So before we begin, we do have certificates for you, and I hope everyone got their iced coffee for their fuel in the morning. Don't drink it tonight or you won't sleep well. And what we want to do is have each candidate come on up, and Dave is going to give you your certificates, and then we're going to ask you to just go in the back and wait, and Joellen would like to take a group photo of everyone outside, undercover, so you guys won't get wet, and you can take your mask off for that photo, okay? So, Brittany, I'm going to take this mic, is that right? I think I'll stand here, actually, because that'll probably be easier so I'm not getting too close to Dave. No offense, Dave.
No offense, Dave.
Yeah, she's trying to tell you something.
Okay, I'll leave it like this for now. And I need my glasses. Okay. First, I would like to congratulate all our tenure recipients. I think we can say getting tenure during this year is a pretty unique situation. I'm pretty sure none of you will ever forget getting tenure during a pandemic. But I also want to say that this is a great group of educators. We're very fortunate to have them at BC. They've gone through, a pretty rigorous, not only interview process, but evaluation process, learning how to teach in a remote environment, hybrid environment. So they're certainly well deserving of their tenure recognition this evening. So without further ado, I'd like to recognize the following. Liz Devanzo, who is getting tenure in ENL. Come on up. Dana DiGiasante, who's at Glenmont Elementary, getting tenure as an elementary teacher. Congratulations, Dana. Dave Delmel, who's receiving tenure as the high school principal. Congratulations, Dave. Kathy Dolan, I don't see Kathy here. Yep, nope, I didn't think I saw her. Congratulations to Laura Gentile at Glenmont as an elementary teacher. Congratulations, Laura. Oh, she's not here either. Oh, yeah, she had a baby, so we'll excuse her. All right, next, Catherine Howell at Ellesmere is getting tenure as a guidance counselor. Congratulations, Catherine. Next, we have Holly Kaiser, who teaches health at the high school and middle school and is receiving tenure in health. Congratulations, Holly. Next, we have Kara Kowalski, who works at the high school and is receiving tenure as a guidance counselor. Emily LeBate works at Hamagrill and will receive tenure as an elementary teacher. Congratulations, Emily. Next, we'd like to recognize Nina Lawrence, who works at Eagle and is receiving tenure as an elementary teacher. Congratulations, Nina. Our next congratulations goes to Caitlin Leo, who teaches at the high school and is receiving tenure in the area of social studies. Congratulations, Caitlin. Next, we have Justine Marinello, who works at Hamagrill and was just reminiscing how she had Mr. K as her principal at Clarksville as a student. She's receiving tenure as an elementary teacher. Congratulations, Justine. I think Dave said that's when it's time to get out. Next, we have Courtney Richman, who works at Eagle and Hamagrill and is receiving tenure in music. Congratulations, Courtney. Next, I'd like to recognize Amy Roos, who is a teacher at Slingerlands and is receiving tenure in the area of elementary, but also does a lot of work here at the high school with our theater program. Congratulations, Amy. Next, I'd like to congratulate Maggie Sheehan, who teaches at Eagle and is receiving tenure as an elementary teacher. And if anyone wants design ideas for their classroom, Maggie is the one to go to. Congratulations, Maggie. Congratulations next goes to Jessica Wynn, who teaches at Glenmont and is receiving tenure in elementary education. Our next tenure recipient is Caitlin Young, who teaches at the high school and is receiving tenure as a special education teacher. Congratulations, Caitlin. And finally, I bet, Christine, you're always one of the last, unfortunately. Christine Zemsky, who teaches at our middle school and is receiving tenure in the area of science. Congratulations, Christine. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out this evening to be recognized. And again, congratulations on receiving tenure. It's certainly well-deserved. And Joellen's going to, I think, take you out and get your photos now. Thanks very much for coming.
Should we make it official?
Yeah, oh, wait. Sorry. Hang on a second. Wait, people.
Right, louder.
Hang on, everyone. So we need to make it official because there's actually, the board has to approve your tenure, so before you depart, sorry about that. Go ahead, Holly.
All right. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve tenure for the staff listed in items 1 through 15.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Only that it sounded like there were a couple extra names she said that weren't on the list I have.
There were some who weren't here.
That weren't on the list?
I feel like you said names. I was following along and you said names that I don't see, but we can figure it out later.
We can figure that out later.
Oh, we'll double check
We'll
that.
double check.
Thanks, Will.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries? Congratulations.
Sorry, that was my bad.
They'll look at it on rewind.
That's okay.
That's possible. We'll double check it, though. And that's my superintendent's report.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions for Jody? Next up is the board report. I first just wanted to congratulate the cast and crew of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown at the middle school. They put on a great show, even dealing with some of the craziest Memorial Day weekend weather that I have seen recently. I want to congratulate our newly tenured faculty and also congratulate our retirees. We had the retiree reception last week, and it really was impressive to see the number of years of service that people have given to our district and to our community, and they will definitely be missed. And that's all that I have. I don't know if anyone has anything else they would like to share.
Well, I attended You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and was very impressed by all the students involved, but I also wanted to thank all the parent volunteers who helped put that on. I know it was a tremendous amount of work, especially our board president, Holly. Thank you for all of your work and all the different parent volunteers who helped the whole process. And not just parents, but I know a bunch of siblings were involved in building the sets as well.
Anybody else?
Jonathan, you look like you're going to talk.
No?
Well, I recruited
He's
Jonathan to come see Your Good Man, Charlie Brown, and thank you, Holly, for last-minute the tickets last week because I forgot to fill out the form, so that was nice. Thank you. We enjoyed it, and Jonathan's daughter, Leah, who used to do theater, came and enjoyed it as well with us. I attended the retirement ceremony as well. It's one of my favorite things to attend. I wish it could have been at the Norman side so family members could come, but it was nice to see all of the service and the dedication and the speeches. I love hearing all of the supervisors and principals talk about their staff and their tenure and what they've done over the years, because a lot of people don't know, and it's really nice to get that background. And Mr. Klugman actually made me well up a couple there, so. But it was great, so I wish them all well and happiness in their future endeavors.
Thanks, Christine. Anyone else?
I just like to say I caught the streamed version of Your Good Man, Charlie Brown, because I couldn't make the live show that had been postponed until Monday, and it went very well. It was
It was
very-
nice that they were able to stream it
Yes.
for people
yes.
who weren't able to get to be there.
Yep.
I wanted to add, I won't go on about the show because you guys covered it. It was an incredible production. But I went to the final dress rehearsal, and I was able to talk to a couple of parents that were there, and parents were like in tears talking about how it was the first time in 14 months their child was acting like themselves again and was enjoying being a part of something. And I know that student athletes feel the same way, and it was just so nice to be out at an event that was done differently but was still able to be held and return some normalcy to our students' lives. So I'm appreciative to everyone that put that together.
And on a side note to what you're saying is, I'm happy they double casted it, because it gave that many more students opportunities, especially during this year, to get out there and act and get outside and have some fun, so.
Yep. Next on our agenda is our presentation, and that is on the Facilities Improvement Project.
Good evening again.
We're making particular note of your pants this evening.
Those are jeans tonight.
You might want to explain that.
That was pretty funny.
Definitely knew it wasn't a Zoom today. So. All right, so Brittany, next slide. Our team, you've seen a lot of these slides before, I'm just recapping, but our team basically pared down $47 million capital plan and came up with about a $36 million project. We've had some initial meetings March 3rd, April 27th, and kind of familiarize the board and the community with the larger aspects of the project. On May 19th, we provided additional information to the board about synthetic turf and I believe the middle school tech project. Tonight, I'm going to be highlighting the top 5 or so components of each building and then some other information. So I believe that we have Drew Jones on standby if there's questions from our district architect. So here's a recap of the project funding, if you can go back. So basically, Bethlehem's aid ratio has consistently hovered around 70%. The most important fact about this project is that it's a budget-neutral proposal. The debt service is fully offset by the building aid due to the significant amount of and use of our capital reserve. So basically, it's good news all around. So I can't not have a presentation without a pie chart. I love them. This was presented in the past and basically shows that the project was developed based upon condition of our facilities, needs that were identified at each building. The slide does give one an idea of the distribution of need and the equity amongst the schools. You would expect that the larger schools would have, the larger pieces of the pie. If you want full details, again, we're directing everybody to the website. Joellen just did a very nice job and I think she left, of updating the website to direct residents of the upcoming project. So at the last meeting, the board did ask to see the top 5 components of each building. In addition, you wanted to see some of the feedback from the stakeholder groups for the middle school auditorium and the middle school LMC. I'm also going to touch upon some of the projects of the proposal that will increase energy efficiency. So here are the top 10 components of the high school, because I couldn't narrow it down to 5. So in total, the high school aspect is about $14–15 million. We've talked about some of these, of course, the largest being the synthetic turf field that we're looking to put near or over Field 2. We discussed this in depth at the last meeting. The requested material safety data sheets, or the SDS sheets, we have obtained from our designers, and that's for a typical synthetic turf field. We will provide these to the board on Friday, and we'll also be putting them up on the website. Upon review of that, there's really nothing that is flagged as a concern on any of the material data sheets.
When you say safety design, are you referring to like the EPA like standards for some of the materials, or are you talking just safety in general of a turf field? I wasn't sure what you meant by that.
I'll call it chemical safety.
Okay.
What are we gonna make this field out of?
That's what the request was for, right?
Yes, yep. So I just wanted to clarify, that's all.
So they were called MSDS sheets for a while, and they changed it to SDS sheets.
Okay.
So you'll see SDS sheets for the grass fibers, the backing, the crumb rubber, and as well the urethane coating that kind of holds everything in place. And I won't talk about every single one of these, but again, these are the highlights. So the track was last resurfaced in 2013. So tracks typically last about 10 years, so we're on kind of schedule for that. Tpo Roofs, we're going to be replacing a number of roofs here at the high school, not all of them, but basically a lot of our, what we call our Tpo roofs. And all of these now are either exceeding or have exceeded their warranty and are beyond their useful life, okay? These roofs vary in warranty lives of anywhere from like 15 to 25 years. Any new roofs that we're putting on now will have a 30-year warranty. Asbestos, every bond is, as you know, we've been picking away at removing asbestos. We are not asbestos-free by any means, but we are actually in great shape with the work that we've done over the many, many years, just trying to continue to remove. A lot of what this is floor tile abatement in classrooms, just to continue with the removal of that. The fire alarm system upgrades, you know, at the high school, this building was added on to numerous times, and we've added on to the existing fire alarm system. So what this upgrade does is basically it'll replace all the main panels, all of the older devices. It will add devices to areas now because the codes have changed, so we're going to need additional coverage. So basically, the new system will be fully addressable and provide additional coverage and be code compliant. Generator improvements, basically this gives us a little extra generator capacity to handle some kitchen needs. If we lose power to freezers, although we are alarmed and we know that because an alarm calls out, if we have sustained power outages, this will provide power to it, so we would not potentially lose $10,000 to $20,000 worth of product. And I think it also includes some other adds to offices at the high school as well.
Just one quick question on resurfacing the track. We said the last time was 2013. Do you remember when the last time was prior to 2013? Because now we're going into like 9 years versus, was it 10 years? I thought it was
It was,
older.
I think we redid it, we resurfaced it in 2013, and I think we fully redid it, full depth reconstruction in 2003 bond,
Okay.
when we did all of the other events and things like that. I came up with 8 components at the middle school. A lot of these that you've already heard about, and all of the components total about $9.3 million for the middle school. Again, any of the roofs are a big number here. And again, any roofs being replaced, this isn't the whole middle school, but it's part of it. So again, any roof that we're replacing is beyond its useful life and will be replaced with a 30-year roof.
Did you ever look at the middle school tennis courts in this last 8? Because they're not in great shape in any way.
Yeah, I believe that they are on the plan, but they were a low priority, okay? We've done a lot of work over there with the fencing. And if you recall, I think last bond, we removed a lot of the woods side, so this way we don't get those leaves and all that stuff. I haven't had many.
Because JV does their practice there. I mean, this year they're not because of COVID, but they do their practices there when varsity's at the high school. And I mean, they're almost to the point where the slopes and the grades are not even usable. I mean, roots are coming up through some. I don't know. I think if we're maintaining like we do some of the other sports fields, we should probably take a look at that.
Okay.
I thought we did some work on that a couple of years ago.
A long time
Not-
ago.
was
Drew,
it that
can you hear me okay?
I certainly can, yes.
Were the middle school courts at all identified in the 5-year plan?
The middle school tennis courts,
Correct.
they were, and they were priced. They are on the list, but they did not reach the level of priority as the other items did.
Is, the only reason I ask is because I don't think there's any type of sports field that's in that type of condition at all.
Take a look at it.
And Drew, do you have that cost available or not
I'm actually
really?
just pulling it up right now, bear with me.
So at least with the sports fields as well, we did consult with Len Keys, who consulted coaches and things like that. So it was identified, but just a lower priority.
I only know because I
So-
play there.
So Greg, that's coming in at $437,000 to resurface the tennis courts and provide new fencing.
Kind of indicative that it needs a lot of work. I'm just putting that out there.
Wow, it's a lot more than I expected.
Okay.
Because they're looking, the reason is too, I will ask you to go back and talk to Len, because they're talking about going to modified tennis. I mean, they're really proactively looking to get that. And those courts would definitely have to be in much better shape than they
That's-
are.
Yeah, that's true. They have, the Suburban Council has talked about modified tennis, and I think it's just a matter of trying to get enough schools to have the numbers, right?
Yeah,
But
and
I-
they're bulking up the program by getting them in earlier, so
It's probably worth revisiting that.
investigating it.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. If we're talking about $500,000 now, I mean, and they're not getting any better. then
No.
We should take the time to look at this and revisit it because, the kids use them, the community uses them, they're a resource and we should take care of them.
I was just there yesterday, and there were 3 little kids, like, I want to say 6, 7-year-olds using the courts. And it was
Phys
really,
ed department uses them quite a
Yeah.
bit with pickleball and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Okay, all right.
they even made those front 2 courts, pickleball courts.
So I won't touch upon any of the others, at least at this point. Just the multi-purpose field improvements, that's actually inside of the track. It's a highly used field all throughout the day with recess as well as for PE as well as for football and a lot of our athletic events there. So the improvements, I believe, was irrigation and top dressing and seating and all that stuff. Bleachers, bleacher pads. So there's that. At Eagle, there's a small amount, I'll say, probably about $600,000 worth of work there. Eagle was built in 2008, And what you'll see at many of the elementary schools is a desire for shade, a shade structure, a pavilion. Somebody called it an outdoor learning center, because we have our tents up now, and it's giving them an opportunity to do some flexible learning out there. But at some of the schools, there's not a lot of shade to give the students some reprieve from the hot sun. So you'll see these on a number of elementary schools. O&M has completed some entrance hardening work. I've presented these things at budget time. This just actually installs a window from the main office to the secured vestibule, all right, and provides some added access control there as well.
Can I ask you a question about the playground shade structure? Regarding the playground shade structure, I understand this isn't an immediate fix, but have we planted trees in any of these playgrounds?
Yes.
That don't have shade?
Yes.
Okay.
But understand that we did a lot at Eagle, but it takes time.
It takes time,
You
absolutely. I
know,
just want to make
and,
sure that they're in. Okay.
Let's talk in 15 years, So.
Plant them away.
Are you saying you'll be here in 15 years? Is that we have you on record for that, or?
No. On record for retiring.
All right, Ellesmere. This is about $700,000 worth of work for all of the elements. Again, the TPO has reached its useful life. The fencing, we've done fencing around much of the play area. You have that very large ravine or our nature trail that goes down behind it. We have fenced around most of it, but there has been some requests to fence pretty much behind that little softball field along Herrick. So that's the fencing, and there's some drainage work as well as far as that goes. Glenmont, you'll see some numbers starting to bump up when we start talking about boiler work. And again, fire alarm work is expensive. Glenmont has about $2.5 million worth of work. The boiler here was actually installed in 1990. Boilers per ASHRAE standards should be replaced about every 25 years. It's a steel tube boiler, so we would replace it with an energy efficient unit, which I'll talk about in a bit. At Glenmont as well, we have some bathroom and some classroom upgrades. The renovations to the classrooms, we actually just met with the principal a couple weeks ago. There's some ceiling work that has to happen, some wall finishes, and some window treatment work that's in a number of classrooms in the intermediate wing. The bathroom renovation as well is in the intermediate wing, providing some ADA bathrooms back there as well. Hammer Grill, I came up with 6 components, about $4.4 million worth of improvements there. That boiler was installed in 1987. Also, the rooftop gym unit is extremely old there as well, and it needs to be replaced. The kitchen renovations, we're going to be upgrading the equipment. We've already had a couple stakeholder meetings as far as what Elise Iser is looking for there. But we would also look at improving the service line and the flow of how kids go through the front lobby and go through the kitchen and then into the cafeteria. So we'll look at seeing if we can improve that as well. Entrance hardening at Hammer Grill is a little more challenging because of the location of the front vestibule in relation to the main office. We would actually be modifying that vestibule and maybe the entrance into the kitchen to create some type of office there where somebody would be stationed to let the student, staff, visitors in and out. But we would provide new doors. Some of those wood doors are extremely old and problematic, access control, and security film. One thing else at Hammer Grill last summer, I believe we finally removed the last standing wood structure playground in the district because things were breaking and slivers and all that good stuff. So this basically will replace some of those
We don't talk
elements.
about that in my house.
That's right, I'm talking about that, yeah. So we did talk to Dave about replacing some of those elements, and we'll get with him and probably the PTA, and that's typically what we've done in the past. So we've involved the PTA, and then they look at things, and what do they think the kids would like, and that type of stuff. So that'll happen. That'll happen at Havergal. Slingerlands. About $2.3 million worth of improvements. Similar there, we are upgrading the kitchen and the flow that goes in and out of the kitchen, the efficiency of the kitchen, as well as the cafeteria itself. The cafeteria is kind of like vinyl tile on top of a gym floor. So it's not very pretty, it's a lot of cracks, and so we've talked about redoing quite a bit of the aesthetics and the finishes within the cafeteria itself. I'll touch upon the basement classrooms. The downstairs classrooms, there's 3 or 4. I think there's a music instrument room as well. When you go downstairs, there's no ceiling in the hallway. A lot of the classrooms have like a tile ceiling with exposed piping. It just doesn't look very nice. It hasn't been renovated. The carpet is extremely old. So that's what the renovations there would basically involve. Okay, next slide. So the board asked for some feedback from the stakeholder group meetings that we've had at the middle school auditorium. As you can expect, a lot of people there wanted to maintain the historic elements and the charm of the space, okay, as we've talked about. So we would improve the interior finishes. We talked about the squeaky seating that makes a lot of noise, and as well to somehow highlight when we can and when we want those beautiful windows that are in there, but do something with some type of retractable treatment that if we want it dark, we can have it dark, or when we want natural light, it would be easy to basically open that up. The configuration of the stage and the orchestra pit is not very good. There were some questions about maybe reconfiguring that. When we put the chorus risers down there, we lose a lot of room down there. So is there something that we can do to help modify that may give us more stage and better pit area down there? We would upgrade the sound system and the rigging and the curtains. Both the house and the actual lighting needs to be improved. I know the house lighting is very dark in there. Technology, video, if I'm doing a presentation, I want to be able to project a movie or whatever in there. And of course, what we've decided a while ago is large space, we would air condition it and improve the ventilation as well. And of course, we would improve ADA accessibility. So that was a lot of the feedback from the stakeholders of what they would like to see the project include. And actually, the project here is about $2.5 million for just the middle school auditorium. Okay. The other feedback that you were looking for was the Middle School Lmc. And we had a number of meetings with the principals and the librarians there. Basically, the space needs to be reconfigured to better accommodate the uses and create flexible learning environments. Those rooms, I think they have a Zen room now. They're just not flexible for what people are starting to see in the high school LMC. Maybe we have collaboration rooms where students can work together. Of course, technology, I mean, similar to what we've done with the high school LMC, but change out the furniture. We have a lot of those fixed, very heavy cubbies that you can't move. I mean, I remember being to some board meetings in there where I'm sitting between a row of books, you know, so how do we create something that can be flexible, that if we are having a presentation in there or a staff meeting, that everybody can sit around and be comfortable. All right, so as part of this, there's a very large circulation desk. That was the norm at the time. Back in the 90s when we built it, it doesn't need to be that big, and it might be tweaked a little bit in its location, so they'd like to see that. And then, of course, the help desk has, now with the Chromebooks and everything, they're a lot more involved with student help and work. And right now, they were in one of those back rooms, kind of like a closet. So now they're up front a little bit, but there's really no access to very, similar to what we have here. So we would create an area that's definitely more inviting and much more efficient for the tech department to use. Throughout the space, we would improve technology and, of course, just make it look nicer. And that was the feedback from them. So Drew and I actually went through all of the 160 projects and kind of came up with some of these energy efficient comments, things that may improve our use of energy. So roofing replacement. When we replace roofs, we're going to put better insulation than probably what is there. Okay, so we will have increased insulation in roofs, and the replacements are happening, as I mentioned, at Ellesmere Hammer Grill Middle School and the high school. Boiler replacements, we talked to our consultants, and for this age of boilers, we may be operating at around the low 80s. And with the new boilers, we're looking at maybe about mid-90s or so from an efficiency standpoint. So, boiler replacement, we're going to be saving on gas. And then with the rooftop units and the unit ventilators at a lot of the schools, we'll of course be increasing control and efficiency, but we'll also be saving on electric because they won't be running as much.
Can I ask about the roofing replacement? First of all, I love hearing all these things. I really do appreciate it. And I understand we can have increased insulation with the roofing. I was wondering if we've explored at all using different roofing materials that would not absorb so much heat, like a green roof kind of situation. Have we explored that at all?
Drew, did you hear that question?
I believe so. The question was about the roofing materials and possible cooler roofing materials such as a green roof. Is that
Right, right.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So currently there are no green roofs contemplated for the project. Personally, I have done green roofs in the past. Never fully extensive green roofs. There usually are curtailed to certain small areas because the weight requirements to install them are rather hard to achieve, specifically for existing buildings, because you're taking a roof structure that is obviously meant to handle snow load, say, and then you're asking it also to carry the weight of the growing medium and the plants and the snow, and it's something that can be hard to engineer into an existing building. That doesn't mean it can't be done. As far as other roofing materials, there are other colors of roofing materials that we can use, but for the longevity of the material, the darker roofs, like the flat roofs that you see in your district now, are the ones that last the best with the sun. It's a little counterintuitive, but the lighter rubber materials don't last as well with so much sun exposure. So that's our experience. That's also the industry experience. But the insulation itself will be quite a bit to reduce the cooling, or to alleviate the heat gain that the building would have from having a dark material on its roof.
Thank you for that information.
The board as well asked for some before and after pictures, and I did want to get the one, I'm not sure, Jody, the pink tile or with the yellow tile?
We had the...
Well, it could have been the pink, but...
The women's were the yellow, the
Yeah.
bumblebee color.
Yeah, so on the left-hand side, you'll see that we did finally get rid of some nice, beautiful yellow and pink tile in some of our old restrooms. And then the two pictures on the right are the ones of a recently this is actually a B wing, the men's room in B wing. But we've used the same theme throughout the schools. You'll see similar designs at Slingerland's, where we just redid the bathroom there. But, wanted to introduce some of the school colors, but not be overwhelming. Feel free to visit. Okay, so from now through July, We'll have additional public meetings if necessary to refine the scope and the costs. This timeline has the board finalizing the scope and the costs on August 11th, and then we would have our required 45-day notice. And we were initially talking, or we're talking about a public vote around September 28th or so. This is probably the earliest that we could have it. All right, and just to clarify, the vote is dependent upon when the board approves the project. So once the project's approved, we've kind of already started with some of the design concepts, but, we're looking at about 9 months or so to design it, and then maybe another year for SED to look at it. And then, we're looking to bid this out and maybe have a shovel in the ground by April or so of 2023.
Greg, can you just clarify, if we didn't go out for the vote September 28th and went October or November, let's say, what does that do to the May 22 time frame? Does that push that back as well?
Yes, it would, and it kind of pushes, we're guessing SED's review time. We really, as it is, we would prefer like bidding in January of 23, because that's when, January, February is when contractors are looking to get their work for the season. The later that you go, once they have their base work, then prices may not be as good. I just would hate, I really trying to salvage the summer of 2023. As it is right now, Ashley McGraw is, we're working on some pre-design information and collection that they have to do just to help with that period of time. But I would be concerned about going any later than September 28th.
Is there a potential to condense some of that time? So if we got the project design completed before May 2022, we could possibly get it to SED for approval before then? Or do you need that much?
Yeah,
leeway
the
to
condensing
do-
is actually what we're starting to do now.
Okay.
Pre-bond or pre-budget vote. Ashley McGraw is working, collecting that information. We will push them as hard as possible, but again, we don't want to force a design or not have a great design that goes to SED, that goes out to bid, because all that does is that just creates question from contractors, that creates change orders if it's not a good project design.
Okay.
Information. We'll continue to have regular updates on the website. The 5-year list is on it. And you'll see all the components of the bond project. And again, Joellen did a very nice job on it. Got some nice added pictures up there, which is real nice. So next steps, the slide is similar to last period of time. Is there information, additional information that the board desires for our next meeting? We are having our stakeholder meetings. There's probably about 10 of them, of different groups that we identified that we needed input from people. Those are happening and will be happening until the end of the school year, just because that's when people are here. And as well, we have been reviewing the building individual lists with the principals to get their input on things. So that's what we've been doing, but I guess next steps is what I wanted to talk about, and what would you like to see or not see?
Have we sent an email out yet to the community about what's going on? I can't remember if I feel like I haven't seen one, but maybe.
I thought Joellen sent something out with a link to the page, didn't she?
I know last we talked, we wanted to wait till after budget vote.
Oh, so it hasn't gone out yet.
And I don't know if it's gone out.
I don't recall seeing it, and that could just be because it came in and I missed it, but if we haven't, I would recommend going ahead and getting the word out to the community that we are, moving ahead with this process so that people aren't caught off guard in August.
Yeah, we could do that, and especially since we've got more information up now. That would probably be helpful for people to start looking at. And then if they have questions, if we let them know at the next meeting, we'll do a follow-up. If people have any specific questions related to this, they could send them in prior to the meeting. And does the board want to hear, I mean, we won't have all of the stakeholder group meetings wrapped up. I mean, I know we've got a bunch of them coming up, but any input regarding some of the bigger projects, would you like to hear some of their feedback
Yes, please.
related to the turf field, the auditorium? I mean, the auditorium, you saw some, there'll be additional feedback on that, but we could certainly provide that.
I know this won't be popular, but it's never stopped me before. I still have concerns about the artificial turf and what is in it. In particular, the tire, the stuff that's made out of the tires. And I was wondering if there's any other substances that we have that are not potentially, that don't contain petroleum, among other things. Because although they're not considered hazardous now, you can't burn tires. You can't really get rid of them other than to make them into something else. It's sort of like styrofoam. And there was this great ban on styrofoam. I know we're not banning tires anytime soon, but I just am concerned about saddling a future board with trying to get rid of a substance that, like asbestos. When it was put in, everybody thought it was fine. Now we're spending God knows how much. Ever since I've been part of this community, we have been abating asbestos, and we're still abating it. And, my kids went from kindergarten through, they've now completed college, and we're still abating asbestos. And at the time it was put in, people thought it was fine. I think we're playing with fire with the petroleum-based product like tires. So I don't know if there's anything else possible, but I'm just really uncomfortable with the idea of our kids playing on tires.
Mm-hmm. So we reviewed a lot of the options. It's petroleum based, but it's a virgin material. But it sounds like you're looking to go, I know that there was a wood product at one point. I mean, we can revisit that, and we can talk about that next time. Drew, trying to think of the other products. There was the cork, but that's not used in this area.
Sure, yes. So there was a cork product that, again, was not recommended for use in the Northeast, specifically because it floats and then it floats away. There was the virgin Tpo rubber product, which again is a petroleum-based product, but it is virgin, unused in any other application other than this. There is the crumb rubber, which is what we've been talking about, and that is for lack of a better term, the going standard for turf installs. Another option we talked about was basically a wood product. The issue that we could possibly have with the wood product is that it is not installed in a very large number of fields at all. It's a very new product, and while the company claims it can do a lot of different things and it's wonderful on a number of different levels, we just don't know yet, and the industry doesn't know yet. The last thing we talked about was a sand fill or a modified sand fill, and the issues that districts have had with those have been it's much more abrasive and much harder than a traditional turf or even a regular grass turf field. And the one district that our consultant has installed that for has regretted that decision since, and have been waiting for the time to run out on it so they can replace it with different turf with more than likely a crumb rubber fill. But We do have all the information on all of the materials that are used in making the turf, all its elements, including the crumb rubber, and how that crumb rubber is used and reused from field to field to field to field. And it's actually one of the ways that that material is reused, if not recycled.
Is there a way to give us like a synopsis, like in written material that you could forward to the board on some of these options so that we could read, you know, in between the next board meeting? Or
I'm sorry.
do you have any like synopsis or summary of each of the different types? I think if we could review it like in our own like time, like I know you're just giving us a little bit of information right now, but if you have any reading material that you could forward to the board, I don't know if anybody else is interested in that, but I would be.
I would be.
Drew, we presented a summary of the fill options at the last meeting. Is there more literature that we could provide the board that describes and summarizes and?
Certainly. I think the most information we're going to be able to provide is going to be on the crumb rubber, because that is the most installed version of the system. Again, we've provided this sort of information to other boards and other districts, and my consultant in particular has information in a more readable format. We have admittedly given kind of a keyhole into this, but I know that Greg, have you supplied all the Department of Health information as well?
No, but I think we could put something together.
That would be great.
Yeah, we can certainly bring something together that the board could read at its leisure for sure, and perhaps gain a better understanding of where the industry is and where there are any possible issues.
Yeah, and not just the crumb rubber literature, but everything.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. I think on the newer, as I mentioned, on the newer systems, specifically the wood system, the majority of that literature is going to be coming from the manufacturer. And I think you all understand what kind of asterisk needs to come beside that. So it would be, it's not something that we can't install, it's not something that we wouldn't install, but it would need to be a carefully considered set of information, and then a carefully considered decision.
And there's the AstroTurf Association that I think may speak to different fills. I thought
Yes,
I read
correct.
something from them, so we'll pull something together and we'll provide it.
Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else specifically the board would like Greg to address at the next meeting, or any of the items, or no? Okay.
What we talked about.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Next on our agenda is our recognition of submitted public comment. We did receive 4 comments. They will all be attached in their entirety to the minutes of the meeting, so that they can be read by everybody. The first comment came in from, just to summarize, from Bill Davis, advocating for a full reopening of our schools as soon as possible. And again, I know we still have social distancing issues with respect specifically to transportation, eating, and the distance that staff need to maintain from students. Those are 3 of the main things that are getting in the way of progress there. We also had a comment from Janelle Johnson asking if turf was being considered for our students. So my hope is that they are watching this evening's meeting, and we'll get some information about that turf is on the potential facilities improvement project. We had a comment from Tamara Starr Just making a general suggestion that Bethlehem consider creating a cultural council. And we had a comment, actually a few questions from Teresa Foster that came in. One asking about masks for elementary and middle school students, and asking if we anticipate that requirement will remain in place for the coming 2021-2022 school year. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at this moment, we don't really know what's the requirements are going to be in the fall.
That's correct.
Also asking if we anticipate any curricula changes required by the state of New York with regard to social justice and or equity and race. And again, I haven't heard anything about that at this point, but.
And I don't anticipate the state coming out with, typically when there's curricular changes, they're done through standards, and they've been, rolled out over a period of years because they get a lot of stakeholder group information. So there wouldn't be something that they came out with that says, you have to start teaching this
tomorrow.
Yeah, that's not how the process works.
Okay.
But we've been integrating some changes on our own.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
And then the third question was whether the Committee on DEI, will it have communication with the district soon on its work, past, present, and future? And my understanding is that communication is ongoing and will continue into next year and beyond.
Correct. And just to mention, there was a presentation at one of our prior meetings about some of the current changes we've made with our curriculum. If they haven't seen that, they could go back. I forget which meeting that was at, but.
Okay. Next on our agenda, item 6, action items. A, finance action items. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following finance action items 1 through 3.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes. B, professional personnel action items. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following professional personnel action items 1 through 14.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Actually, Jody, can you just clarify for anybody who's watching? There is a listing for a 2021 Summer Academic Recovery Program.
Oh,
Just
sure.
a little explanation of what that is.
Yep. So last year, we offered something similar, although it was virtual, for students who were not successful in their courses and needed to make up some work. So this year, we're planning to do something similar for middle and high school students, where students who would be failing technically at the end of the school year, but are able to recover that credit by attending these in-person sessions. We're planning on them being in-person this year. So we would find out from the instructors what kinds of things did they not complete. Some students, it's a few assignments that they maybe didn't do well the last quarter. Some is more substantial work to try and get students where they need to be. In the past, students would typically enroll in a summer school program offered by other local districts, but that's not open to students from other districts this year. So we're doing what we're calling a summer academic recovery program. That's what the plan is.
Great, thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes.
Jody,
C,
I just had a quick question about that. If a parent, is this something that a teacher will contact a parent and inform them that this is an appropriate way, or is this something that a parent could perhaps say, I'd like my child to have more help?
So we would contact, we're collecting information on how students are performing. So already, there's some students really who only are behind a small amount, and so we're trying to get those students caught up now. So for example, at the high school, students are staying after school, we're making arrangements to provide some late buses for the next several weeks for those students who don't need to do a whole lot to get that credit. So hopefully by the end of June, they'll be in good standing. But we're also collecting that information on students who have struggled in multiple courses or in a few short weeks can't make up that work. And we'll be reaching out to those families, letting them know we're offering this opportunity. Here's what your student will need to do. So it's not really an extra help. It's really for students who didn't get the credits they need to be to stay on track with their cohort.
Do we have any resources for parents who are concerned that their children are not going to be prepared academically for next year?
So they can certainly contact the counselor's office, and I would think that if they're concerned, let's say, for example, that their student isn't prepared in math for the following year, I mean, the best thing to do would be to contact the teacher directly, because the teacher can speak best to that. But if they're concerned just in general about their students' preparedness, they could contact the school counselor, who could have some follow-up discussions with multiple teachers at the middle school. They might talk to the team of teachers to get a sense if they need some additional support. It could be a counselor offering some support, or teachers. And sometimes, you know, the teachers will reassure the parents that they're where they need to be, they'll be fine. And other times, the teachers can provide some additional work for the students to do, or here's some resources that your child could work on over the summer. And if it's appropriate for them to come to the summer program, that may be an option too. But it really would be, the best course would be to contact the teacher first, unless it's just kind of this general concern that I would recommend they contact the counselor.
Thanks.
C, support personnel action items. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following support staff action items 1 through 10.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes. D, other action items. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following action items 1 through 3.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes. 7, future meetings and events. Let's see, on Monday, June 7th, at 5:30 PM, there's an audit committee meeting. On Wednesday, June 16th is our next regular board meeting, anticipating an executive session starting at 6 and the open meeting starting at 7. And there will be a policy committee meeting before that at 5 o'clock, all on June 16th. And then on Tuesday, July 6th at 7 o'clock will be the annual organizational meeting of the board, anticipating executive session at 6.
Hey, Holly,
Yes.
I'm going to not be in the state for the July 6th organizational meeting, which is really unfortunate timing. I don't know if we can arrange to have me join virtually, assuming the executive order is extended, which I assume it will. We could talk about it offline. I just wanted to highlight that in a world where it seems like we should be able to Zoom me in, maybe we can accommodate that.
We've called in before, like if it's more about like voting for like new officers or committee, like we can also call too. Like we've done that before where we've called somebody.
Like, I'm going to have to be sworn in too, so I don't.
That's the tricky part.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. But could we do that at the next meeting for her? Does it have to be?
Has to be after we can double check. I think it has to be after July 1.
But does it have to be on July?
Oh.
I'm just saying maybe she can be sworn in
In August?
at the next
Oh.
meeting in August if it's not.
Oh, we can check on that.
All right, I'm sorry. It was bad.
Difficult.
It is close to the holiday.
Is the, clarification, is the audit committee Zoom or in person?
In person? Everybody all set? Seeing no need to go back into executive session, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.